Thank you all for joining. I'm super excited today for our next session, From Bottleneck to Breakthrough, How the Best Operators Deliver on Their Plan When Others Fail. I'm super excited as well. Oops, there we go. All of a sudden it disappeared, Kasim. We'll do a little bit of introductions first, and then we're just going to do a panel of questions and really learning from each other here on, their experiences and how they've been able to deliver on some of the challenges that we probably all face in project management. So quickly for myself, I'm Angela Bunner, Global Vice President of Solutions here at ClickUp. I lead the Solutions Engineering Team, Center of Excellence, and everything related to customer enablement. So if you've ever been out on ClickUp University and taken any of our webinars or workshops, that's part of my team that we are out there trying to evangelize the best practices of how to use ClickUp. I always talk about how we want to educate folks on the art of the possible of what you can do with ClickUp. I've been in the project management and work management space for over 20 years at various different companies and products. Passionate about project management and productivity, and love working with customers and hearing what they're doing to be successful in navigating change and making their teams more successful. I will hand it over to Molly.
Hi, I'm Molly Quella. I've been a project manager at Lids for 2 years now, overseeing all of the construction projects that we do with new stores and remodels. And something that I love to do is visit local coffee shops when we travel. And just kind of see different nuances there. I've gotten some ideas even from coffee shops for our construction stores.
Nice. And Tyler?
Yep, I'll jump in. I'm Tyler Tolson. I'm the CEO and founder at Denique. We're a designer notebook company. We sell our products that are designed by artists all over the world in about 16,000 retail locations. And then we make custom notebooks for the coolest companies in the world. Insert ClickUp, as well as Nike, Google, TikTok, etc. And every product that we sell, part of the money goes to building schools. We've funded 8 schools worldwide now. And not that that's not a great achievement, but my greatest achievement is marrying the woman of my dreams. And I've got 5 rock star kids. So
that's awesome. Must keep you busy. And Kasim.
Hi, everyone. I'm the head of operations. I lead the core ops teams at Deal. That includes our fintech team, our HR operations, our payroll operations, and our operational excellence teams. Prior to Deal, I was the VP of operations at Zendesk and also the head of operational excellence at ServiceNow. I spent the first half of my career in management consulting, focused on business transformations. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm a huge Formula One fan. My goal is to eventually go to every single track, the 20 plus tracks. I've been to 4 so far, and I'm super excited to go to Vegas this weekend for my 5th track.
Wow, that's exciting. We should circle back next week and hear about the trip. Yeah. I'm also in the Bay Area, in San Francisco Bay Area, not far. And I've got 2 kids, 10 and 12. We do not have such elaborate traveling hobbies, but we've got a bearded dragon, and my daughter is a huge fan of nature. So always catching things and multiple aquariums that probably you all don't want to know what are in. All right, let's get going. The first topic I wanted to talk about was, according to a study done by The Economist and PMI, and I'm sure you've seen this before, the stat around the fact that nearly half of strategic plans fail, if not more. So I wanted to, talk about that topic. Tyler, when you started at Denique and you had this vision, how did you make that vision a reality and avoid those stats?
When we talk about the stat of half of strategic plans failing, I don't know if we avoided them. So I feel like we just kind of embraced it and ran forward. We knew that there was a potential to fail, a very good potential to fail. But for us, it was really about embracing that failure and celebrating it too, because as we fail, we know that it's about failing forward. It's about not necessarily failing, because when you try something, you either win or you learn. And so for us, it was as learning as fast as possible. We were going to as many events all across the country, talking to as many people as we possibly could. We were sharing our story, and people resonated with the story. People loved the products. Our team members resonated with the story. And so for us, it was really going at it, knowing that we could fail, but being really scrappy. And I also say often that you can't be scrappy without a little bit of crappy. Like, it's built into the word. And so just know that that's going to happen. But, you know, we had a vision that was exciting. It still is exciting. That excites our customers. It excites our team members. And so that was something that we could embrace. And then the most important piece has really been empowering our team members. Like, that's the biggest key. I've been doing this 12 years now. And so any team member that we bring onto the company, whatever role they're in, whether it's executive or a junior leader or whatever role, they sit down with me and I actually do this. I grab my car keys and I hold them up and I say, look, this role that we're bringing you onto right now, we're giving you the keys to this role. And that's because we trust you and we want you to run. We want you to own this role. I've been doing this 12 years, but I don't know all the answers. And we need you to help us get there. And so a vision that's super empowering and exciting for people, and then trusting them, letting them go after it. That's really been the two main factors.
I love that. It's so cool. And one of our core values at ClickUp is growing 1% every day. And learning to fail fast and grow from it, right? So we grew tremendously fast from 2.5 years ago when I joined, a small team of 150 people to almost over 800 in a COVID remote world. And I say that we couldn't have done it without empowering people and being willing to try and, fail fast as well. Molly, what about you? Do you have any thoughts on this topic of, how did you guys do and implement your strategic visions?
Yeah, so we actually had a project. It was a smaller one, and it kind of failed in the chaos of a bunch of larger projects. And every project is just as important as the next one, no matter the scale of it. And that's when we realized we really needed to find a platform to really track our progress. And across the board, I work with all of the departments in the company. We all have to work together, stay on the timelines. And through that small project, it should have been a no-brainer. And through ClickUp, we've been able to put every single project in there and really put our due dates in there, track, speak to the departments, and also give people the ownership of their project. They can update us. We aren't chasing any questions, and we've just rolled it out slowly by department, and it's been a really great feature. Our projects have been rolling smoothly in ClickUp. I really couldn't have asked for a better platform.
Yeah, because it gives people the feeling that they own their work being in there.
Yeah, we can see everyone's progress. It gives leadership visibility as well. So instead of having to shoot over emails or messages, they can really just go in, look at their dashboard, look at the store list, and they have a complete overview of every single project.
Yeah, love it. And then what about Kasim? What have you seen successful? Many years of leading operations.
I'll tell you what I've seen that hasn't been successful, or what are some of the pitfalls that I've seen over my career and on complex initiatives. I think number one, I've seen this as a common trait everywhere. People get excited for a vision without necessarily thinking through and clearly articulating what are the clear objectives, what are the measures of success. So often large, complex, cross-functional programs get started, but not everyone's running in the same direction. Not everyone's aligned. And so I think it's very, very important upfront to do the due diligence on aligning with what are the measures of success, who's accountable especially, right? This is another common theme I've seen throughout my career, especially as initiatives get more and more complex. You've got a number of different stakeholders. Who really is the decision maker, right? Is it a single person? Is it a single body? And often on large initiatives, you have this issue of relitigation. Someone new comes on board, or you've got a new stakeholder, and all of a sudden, all decisions have to be relitigated. Someone has new ideas. And so being really clear on decision makers, on accountability. And then the third thing is I've seen initiatives get bogged down in trying to solve for edge cases. It's really important to know that you can't solve for everything. Solve for the core fundamental problems, solve for the 80%, and then figure out the 20% later. And that's how you really accelerate your initiatives, keep them clear, keep them targeted, and keep them really focused on the objectives that you set up.
Yeah.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Just one thought that I had as he was speaking was, thinking in early stage, but also as you move forward and progress. One of the quotes that has really resonated with me recently is it's a Stoic quote, and I think it's from Ryan Holiday, and he's an incredible author. My favorite book is The Obstacle is the Way. But he said something: never in a hurry, never worried. And I think so often, especially in early founders, early teams, but even throughout the scaling process, teams can get in a hurry. And when you're hurried and in a rush, you start to worry and you start to make mistakes. And so I've really loved that thought of never in a hurry, never worried, especially early on in the business. If you can embrace that, don't rush through it.
Yeah, I just wrote that down. I'll have to follow up and look it up. Love that. I think it's so true. I think, having everyone aligned and thinking about what is that objective that we're trying to achieve. I love that. There's been, I'll admit, there's been times where we've rushed to do something and you're like, wait a sec, what were we trying to solve? Like, let's make sure that we've documented those, get everyone on the same page. Sure. I think that's really key.
And I think there's a difference between rushing and doing things quickly, right? Mm-hmm. Doing things at speed because you need to move quickly in business. But there's a difference between that and this mentality of I'm so hurried, I just got to throw something out there.
Yeah, we really had that problem. And with that slowing down, we have to rush. So how we've done is we work backwards. When do we need to get a store open? When does construction need to stop? And then we have formulas and we can count back the dates and set all the due dates instead of just hoping people have done the work. That's where we've kind of pretty much practiced what you just preached, essentially. That I love that quote.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, because I'm so fascinated on like your job of how you need to manage store build out. And I worked many years with construction companies and opening up offices and in your case, store openings, remodels, relocations. Like, how do you make sure that the team's set up for success with those tight deadlines?
Yeah, so we actually came up with a template. So every store goes through the same process. So we created an entire task list by department. And so we just create a new list for every store, and then it automatically assigns people from the department that we've already designated. We have automation set up and dependencies to unlock different tasks when things are completed. It lets the next department know that they can now start their work. My floor plans, once I complete it, lets almost every single person know that it's done. So we can plan for our cameras and our security and our internet, every marketing opportunities. And so by getting to do that, we've kind of slowed down the rush and forgetting about who's responsible. We know who's responsible for each project because it really depends on which district or region we're in, which country we're in. We've launched this with our London team. I'm doing stores in Canada. So it's really, and getting our contractors on with those guest seats, that's been so helpful, being able to have the progress pictures updated daily. We know when something's going on. We've had a better eye on our projects. And it's just been so helpful because we are always in a hurry. We are rushing to get these projects done. And it's allowed us to still do things quickly, but in a much more organized and communicative manner. And our meetings have become way more efficient. We can go through and really address the actual issues versus going over what we already know is complete. So,
yeah. You've got a lot of different people involved with that life cycle. Like, how do you onboard and make sure, for example, all those different people are, using the platform and or, following the process, especially when you have contractors, external folks? Is it a blessing that you have got a good platform for communicating?
Yeah. So with the contractors, it was surprisingly easy. It was more just telling them, this is what we need you to do. This is where, when we want you to bid on a project, we'll put it in here. We'll give you all the information. Give us back your bid, any pictures, any information. So that was really an easier process than getting other team members, because every department is so busy working on their own items on top of the new store construction. And so I had to sit with the department heads and really pitch the idea of ClickUp and show what it can do for them and how it will improve their workflows. And so once I had their buy-in, it just trickled down from there. So I met with each department, told them what we were going to do and what they were going to do. And then we also partner with our strategic services partner, Jenny. She's been great. She's been helping me train people by department and build out their workflows. And then what we're working on is having a rep in each department who will kind of take the lead as new people enter. So that's, I can't do it all. Jenny can't do it all. So we're really trying to piece it around by department so they have their own processes taught to new people. But it's going well so far, and the feedback's been awesome.
That's great. What about Kasim? With acting as an employer of record, Deal works with over 20,000 companies, bringing on talent. Like, how do you manage complex projects?
Ooh, I think I mentioned some of them. I think first is really having a clear vision of what we want to execute on, and then having some kind of clear goal setting. I think that's super important. At Deal, we use OKRs, but really tying whatever the goal setting methodology is to the vision of the CEO and the vision of the company. That's number one. Number two is clear ownership and accountability. For each of our complex initiatives, I have one person who owns it, regardless of whether it's cross-functional or not, and having clear escalation paths. Right? If things aren't working, knowing who to go to. And I think number three, and Deal does this, we have this concept called Deal speed. Tyler was saying, never hurry, never worry. That's the opposite, actually, the way we do things at Deal. We are always hurried. We are always worried, but that's kind of what's kept us in front of our competition. Like, we move really, really quickly, not always with the full set of data, but we are willing to take risks and to fail fast, right? And by fail fast, it doesn't mean we're a catastrophic failure. It just means, hey, we tried something, it didn't work, let's pivot, let's try something else. And let's keep going until we get traction and we stick on something. And so really challenging, pushing on how we can go faster, how we can do more. When my teams tell me, hey, yeah, we'll get to it we'll be able to do it by the end of the week. The question I always ask is, why not tomorrow? Why not today? Right? And so even just asking that question for high-performing teams, they'll come back with an answer on how to do things faster, right? And tying that really closely to the urgency that we have for customer or client centricity. There's a clear reason why we want to do things faster. At Deal, our clients and our customers are employees who need to get paid, contractors who need to get paid, clients who need to pay their employees. And so even waiting 6 more hours, can you imagine if you were a person waiting for your salary for an additional 6 hours? You'd be worried, you'd be stressed, right? And those are our clients. So we've got to move with extreme urgency and always have that customer experience and the client in mind. And so for me, when I came into Deal, there were 3 areas that I really wanted to focus on, and they're traditional operations metrics and operations things, despite the fact that we're a SaaS company. I'm sure Tyler and Molly can attest to this as well. Number one was scale. How do we do more with less? Like, Deal is in a hypergrowth phase. We have to figure out, with the same number of employees, with the same number of resources, how can we get more done? How can we get more throughput? So that was number one, scaling. Number 2 was customer experience, always customer centric. How do we really delight our customers? That's one of my main OKRs for our organization. And number 3 is quality. How do we eliminate misses, mistakes, gaps? We're moving so quickly that a lot of things can potentially fall through the gaps. From small misses where someone doesn't respond to an employee on time, where someone forgets to respond to a client, where we forget a task, and any small misses on our part have pretty large impacts to our customers. And so really tightening up our quality programs. And when go ahead.
No, I was going to say, how do you ensure or drive, accountability on nothing's falling through the cracks? Like, what do you?
Yeah. So super important for us to put in for all my initiatives, for all of our initiatives, we have 2 things that we put in place that we really focus on. One is metrics, like having clear KPIs and measures of success. They've got to be tangible. They've got to be data driven. And as part of the initiative, early up front, we determine how we can gather those metrics, right? What are going to be the databases that we pull from? How do we determine where the formulas? That's number one. And then number two, putting monitoring in place for everything we do. And so having a metric isn't good enough. We've got to have consistent monitoring to understand when we're dropping things, and a feedback loop to ensure that we mediate when things aren't going well.
Awesome. I think others probably could align to those goals as well and processes. I think being able to measure is really key, and having visibility of that across teams so everyone knows what it is that we're measuring is really key as well. I think the customer centric, another one of our core values is making sure that everyone understands what it is and why it is that we do our job. Because I also have been in a situation where someone's not paid, and that's a big deal because you will hear it. Tyler, what about you? How are you ensuring quality as well? Moving fast in pace that you're designing and building new product.
There's a few approaches, a few thoughts that I have here. One, Molly talked about that template of her stores, which is a very clear process that people should stick to. I'm a big fan of Marcus Lemonis, and he talks about the 3 P's in business: people, products, and processes. You got to have great people, you got to have great products that people love and they want, and you got to have processes that are ironclad that allow you to scale. For us, I look at we've really focused on the 80-20 rule there of 20% of our customers provide 80% of the revenue. And then 80% of our customers provide 20% of the revenue. It's like that in every case in business, you can find that. And for us, we made a decision back in 2019 where we would hyper focus on those 20% of SKUs that delivered 80% of the value. And we thought we were going to lose way more revenue. And we thought we might go out of business if we, slim down from offering all these really cool custom notebooks and features for people to just 8 items. We were worried about that. We made that decision. We cut it down. And the next year we grew 140%.
Wow.
Which, to me is definitely a testament to just focusing on what you do really well, focusing on great people, great products, and great processes. When Molly's talking about that template, I hope my wife's not listening because I'm going to share a quick story. My wife is a big runner. And when we first got married 13 years ago, I got her one of those little pepper sprays. Mm-hmm. And this thing that I'm about to share, I call it the pepper spray syndrome. And it applies right here, but it also applies in business. I gave my wife this little pepper spray, showed her how to use it. And she said, okay, awesome. She came back from a long run one day and she said, oh, I lost my pepper spray. And I said, what happened? And she said, this dog came out and started running at me, chasing me. And I turned and threw the pepper spray right at him. And I said, babe, just turn your thumb and spray it. That dog will run away, right? We talked about this. It was a very clear process, but in the heat of the moment, right, she made a decision that was totally outside of our template. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's the same in business. You have these templates, you have these processes set up. Stick to them, focus, and it'll help you.
Yeah, I love that. Having a documented way of also handling risks and fires that come up is always helpful as well. I noticed there's a bunch of questions on the side too. I wanted to make sure that we left a few minutes because I see we've got 10 minutes left to go. One of them I think comes up very common, both kind of two related. It was around how do you deal with buy-in resistance and adoption and change management. So I'd love to hear all three of your guys' and gals' perspective on that. Who wants to go first?
I can go first because I'm a project manager. I report to a lot of leadership members. So when I was tasked with finding a project management software and a program and a process to create, I found ClickUp, and so I worked with Chris Angelina. He's an amazing partner. He created so many decks for me and really helped me he asked me what our issues were we were trying to solve, and he showed me exactly how ClickUp would solve them. And he gave me some generic metrics of like how much we're saving a week on meetings and calls and emails. And I went to my team first. They loved it. They moved me on to, I presented in front of all of the VPs and directors and got their buy-in. They had some questions. I was able to answer them. I was really well equipped. And they were like, okay, we will support you. Now go do. So I asked for certain people in each department to speak to, and it was just kind of a spiral. Everyone saw how much I loved it, how it was working for my team, and how successful we had been. So with being busy, I have to check up on people, but they're very excited and they do make the time on their calendar. And I really went with the what's in it for them kind of pitch. What are they going to get out of it? Creating their templates, creating their process when people change departments, get promoted, or unfortunately some people do leave the company. How do we maintain that work? How do we maintain the templates, their workflow? And so it's really we're not losing anything anymore. Everything's right there. It also is great for PTO coverage. When we're out, I can hop on, my director's store, see where he's at, answer any questions, vice versa. We can help everyone out. So when I started talking about the PTO coverage or extended leave coverage, things like that, everyone was like, this is amazing. And so we worked with Jenny and we've built out amazing processes. Our marketing department, they were able to create a workflow for campaign requests that they didn't have before. And it's been going so well for them. They have so many steps that they created, and now we can see it move along and they're more efficient in that way. And so it's really just what's in it for everyone and why should they spend the time. And that's how I got the buy-in.
Love it. So buy-in from the top first to kind of green light. Let's, go ahead and work with different departments, and then working with the teams themselves, showing them the value so that they get it. It's a story I've seen again and again with ClickUp, and why it's been so successful, because it grows virally within a company and teams, because they're like, oh, I want that too when they see what other people are doing.
Yeah.
What about you, Kasim?
Yeah, I like what Molly said, right? I think the with him, what's in it for me, is super important. So always starting with that, number one. And then for leaders, I think data. If you can show them data, hard data, what is the value of an implementation? What is the value of a program? What is the value of an initiative? That is super important, right? So always leading with data. The with them is really important. And I think for certain initiatives, I think, Molly, what you said was right. You also have to show and demonstrate organic success. If you've got something where you don't have a whole lot of buy-in, try it out in a certain part of the organization and demonstrate to leaders and other folks that, hey, this has actually been successful. Let them want it, and then they'll come to you, right? And you'll have much better success at buy-in.
Yeah, I'll say the dashboards were key in getting leadership buy-in. The fact that they can log in and just see an overview, that's been amazing for them.
Yeah. Love it. Tyler, anything else to add?
Yeah, quickly, I would just say never assume buy-in. Don't just assume that your team buys in because your team is awesome, right? I think communication is kind. And so communicate as much as possible. When in doubt, chat it out. Share the vision, share the goal, share the dream. You often, as a leader, have to have your sales hat on to help your team be bought in. But remember, sales is about adding value, right? And so you want to see how they get value out of it, and this helps the organization get value. So that's from that perspective as a leader. Don't just assume buy-in. Then I'd also say from a junior leader, junior members of the team, oftentimes you got to get buy-in going upward, right? And I tell people that if you're in that position and you're wanting to get buy-in from bottom up, start your comment, start your phrase, the thing you're going to ask for or share with, quote, I want this business to be successful. Here's what I'd like to see, right? Or here's how I think we could do this. Or I want this division to dominate. Here's what I'd like to see. Or I want this product to just crush it. Here's what I'd like to see. If you're a junior leader and you have that mentality, your team, your managers, your leaders are going to love it.
Yeah, I think communication of the vision is so key. I mean, I don't know how many of your guys' teams are virtual and global.
100% all remote.
Yeah, exactly. So like being able to communicate the vision is so important. And like having a system or a platform that you can talk about what that vision is besides real-time meetings, because even with the global, you can't be on with the Europe and APAC at the same time, right? Is really key.
Yeah. I also had to be a little scrappy. I would also set meetings with people and I wouldn't include a link to join on video. I force people to see me in person. So
interesting.
That was my sales pitch. That's kind of my MO lately is I don't include a link for a video call if I know that they're in office. I preferred the face-to-face conversation to really show them what it could do and ask questions. I found I get more interaction that way when I was kind of pitching ClickUp to the different teams.
Love that. That's true. When I go down to San Diego, I do the same thing. I put a room. Let's in person, because I think that human connection still makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Let's do one more question before we jump down. I think the first question that I didn't ask is, do you factor in legacy planning when you strategize your project deployment? And if yes, how can you share how? Because you come from a space of where you've got older processes of how people come. And this is something that I've seen before too. Like we used to do something a certain way with this tool. Now we want to, force fit it into a new tool or platform. Like how have you managed that process and change management?
I think I've had it easy. My leadership really had my back. They really said from this date on, if someone asks a question here, does this, don't respond, tell them, put it in ClickUp, do it in ClickUp. So I think I've had my leadership's support the whole time. And I think that was really important too, is they support it, they want the change, and they've seen the positive outcomes. So it's really just been easier that way. Yep. Having their support, because then their team members see them supporting it and they do it. And that was, we all want to work well together. We all want to be efficient, and we all do work well between the departments. And I think that's kind of what helped is the team environment that we do have.
Yeah, I love it. I think what somebody in chat said, if it isn't ClickUp, it doesn't exist. I think that's really key as well. I tell my team as well, like things get lost in Slack. If it doesn't exist in ClickUp, do not expect that I will be able to keep track of it, because there's just a lot of noise in chat channels, and I need to have a single place to track all the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we've got one slide I wanted just to recap. There we go. This has been a great conversation, and we try to recap some of the common themes that we heard, and how we can ensure and help our teams strive more in how they deliver. And I think really it's like the different stakeholders involved that we are working with, like with CEOs, making sure that everyone is aligned on that North Star, the 80-20 rule of how we're executing on speed versus quality, and learning how we delegate and empower our teams is really key. We've seen across all three of your companies on empowering users to own the work that they're doing and making sure that they're aligned to the vision that we're all talking about as different organizations. As operators, I think it's really around building momentum and excitement towards that vision. And I love how ClickUp becomes a platform to enable that. And making sure that teams are operating in parallel across multiple work streams, and then really empowering your project managers, pushing folks to track that information and get everyone aligned. I think you'll see the productivity gains. Like I said, work does not get lost if it's in ClickUp, and it ensures that you're collaborating across teams on a single platform. So I really appreciate you all joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you in other sessions. Any final comments?
I think, as you mentioned on there, we talked about let go to grow. That's something that our executive team talks about constantly. You've got to trust your team. And the only way to grow and scale is by trusting them. You got to let go to grow. I think that's pretty significant.